Iran is choosing to retaliate.
Attacking the energy and then attacking the ICT infrastructure.
Almost the tech sector and AI gonna have a bigger impact on geopolitics.
First, congratulations, ICT infrastructure. You reached the top, you became a target. It's 500 terawatt per year now that the centers are using. Like it is a lot. This is not a joke anymore. Humans get the energy before machines, guys. People need to stop and create this new world order, including the AI in the loop now.
New episode, same two of us, Amir and Alex in the house, this time without guests. Amir, how you doing? How is your optimism level for this week's news?
I'm always optimistic. I'm sure we will reach a solution soon. It's too stupid to continue. Let's put it this way. Yeah.
Exactly. And maybe to give some context here, at the time of this recording, we're in the middle of the heat of what's happening in the Middle East with Iran and US and ships being held hostage in order to transport the oil through the Strait of Hormuz, and a lot of stuff going on, potential threats of infrastructure, or whether it's for data centers or AI centers getting bombed, a lot of geopolitical implications, a lot of kind of turmoil, uncertainty. And we're going to fix it with Amir in the next 35 minutes, right, Amir?
Yes. We'll solve everything and bring in Trump and bring in everyone in the table. And let's find a solution for this. For those who is the first time to hear us, we are not a political show. No, we are actually technology leadership. We talk about technology. We talk about AI. Me and my friend here, Alex, try to gather as much as we can and talk about news and informations in the AI and technology area worldwide. It happens this time that there is a war. We will have to talk about it a little bit. That's not really the intention. And sometimes we have guests. Sometimes it's just me and Alex, and we missed you, TrickCasters, and looking forward for a good episode with you.
Yeah, I think it's a good intro as well. Maybe to give some further context here. It's a good way for us to keep informed with what are the news, what are the headlines, what are the topics worth paying attention to this week or over these weeks. I'm here for you, of course, from a tech leadership perspective, being a consultant investor, running accelerators, having your own consultancies that you're embedding your experts into different startups. And from my side, more feet on the ground, dealing with startups on a daily basis, having to be aware of which companies laid off their top engineers, where the talent is going, this flow of talent and energy. I think we overlap in a lot of areas. And of course, unfortunately, the global geopolitics affect the tech sector a lot, right? Now, I would almost argue that we're crossing this point where it's about to flip the switch, where almost the tech sector and AI is going to have a bigger impact on geopolitics than the other way around. And I think it's going to actually shape historical events and conflicts for whether it's who's fighting for dominance of satellites in orbit and AI data centers in space, and where we're getting energy to supply all of this compute with the required amounts of electricity and whatnot. So without ado, maybe let's get into a quick overview of the topics that we have today. Amir, over your holidays, you mentioned you had a lot of questions from your family members and friends. What the hell is going on with AI and which tools should we use? So the first section, we're going to talk about the new AI stack. What does, the modern, let's say, person who's on top of things technologically, what would be the go-to tools? I think we're almost at the point where some of them, like ChatGPT equivalent, is becoming like the Facebook for boomers, in the sense that maybe our moms will be able to use it in a couple of years. But if you want to get extraordinary results, you have to do extraordinary things, right? So whether it's seeing limitations of some of these tools and using some better ones, that's what we're going to cover in the first section. In the second segment, of course, we're going to get into the whole energy crunch, what's happening in the Middle East, how that's affecting oil prices, not just oil prices, but maybe how that power feeds into potentially the technology sector with AI, which we touched a little bit already. And unfortunately, we do have to cover some of the modern realities of the warfare that's happening. We've seen a dramatic change in going from trench warfare in the first two world wars to, you could argue in Ukraine and Russia, it's been a lot of very similar, but with some drones added in. And now we're seeing completely new levels of targeting and weaponry that's supposed to be for defense, but actually used for attack purposes, right? And it might be an unpleasant part of the episode, but I think it's something that people have to talk about. There's no avoiding it, because if nobody's speaking up, I guess AI being used on a nation far away, there's going to be nobody left to speak up when AI technology is being used on you in your home, right? So is there anything that we missed before we get started with our topics for today, Amir?
No, I think you covered it all. Looking forward. I'm personally looking forward as well for our first section, because like when everyone asked me like, okay, what is happening with these tools? Do I use this tool to do this? Do I use this tool to do that? I said, you know what? Alex have it covered. So
We have
Alex,
the
I'm looking really forward for me and for most of our audience to get your head around this. What do we do?
Well, let's do this. So I guess let's cover the major players. We talked about Anthropic before, and this is by somebody, one of the leaders. We featured Dario, and of course they have the product called Claude. Claude Code. They have different subscriptions for Pro, and we're going to put this as well on the screen as we're going through all the different features and whatnot. Then, of course, we have one of my favorites, Manus. Manus is, I would say, one of the first AI tools that allow people to do stuff without them being present and replying and prompting in the computer. You give it a set of tasks, you approve the plan, you press go, you come back in 5 minutes, the task is done, right? And then, of course, we have Perplexity, which is known almost as, I would say, the truth source AI, or it's the one that's most reliable in terms of where you go to find legit information. A big pro, I guess, that it's not just showing you what's on CNN and the first page of Google, but you get articles from different sides of the political spectrum, or the whether it's mainstream or, let's say, less common stream. So that's quite nice. And I would say those are, aside from ChatGPT, of course, like some of the main players. ChatGPT, everybody knows about it. There's new models being rolled out all the time, including very recently. So should we perhaps, Amir, start with what are the updates that happened recently, and then we can go into
Yeah,
the specific use.
I've seen lately, like, I don't know, like let's start from ChatGPT. Like OpenAI announced it 5.4. It's actually having really like 80 very good numbers actually on success rate on tasks, like 83% on real world tasks. It can create like docs, spreadsheets, do some data work. In a window, you would be able to use 1 million context token in one window. That's not bad actually for the guys. For those of maybe let me be the techie in the conversation. Is the tokens like very okay? I lost my credit working with Perplexity, or I had my credit over in GenSpark, and a lot of those things. And what is a token actually? And that's a very interesting one. It can pave our way as well also to talking about energy later. So maybe let's in the previous life before Gen AI, when you are uploading a PDF or a Word document to a machine, it's representing it to you, but it doesn't understand it. So somehow with tokenization, and I'm really simplifying it here, with tokenization, we found a language, a way of taking sections of the words and creating a token by every section, and then try to teach the model that when you see this section, the token, let's say the word environment, or no, environment is hard. Let's say the word experiment. So you will have the first EXP, that's a token, periment, peri, that's a token, and ment is another token, and then maybe experiencing, then there's a token on the ing. So the more this teaching of the model that each token comes followed by another token and then followed by another token, then suddenly that's PDF document that looked like just a picture for the information system, we can call it this way. Now it's understandable. So the real breakthrough here with ChatGPT 5.4, it really goes into very high number of tokens per window. So you can really continue a chat for longer time and put like some good big documents to be managed in the right time. 1 month before that, everyone was talking about Claude Opus. And apparently 5.4 beats obvious when it comes to the amount of tokens and the ability to analyze, and it's doing it in a cheaper way. And let's put some number under cheaper here. So it loses, if you put, I don't know, 10,000 words on Claude and 10,000 words on GPT on 5.4, and assuming it's the same credit for credit, it will use less credit on the new model of GPT 5.4.
So of
That's
course
one
they're always
announcement.
coming out with new ways to optimize this. Let's call it data usage, right? Like your old phone minutes that you get per month for the $30 that you pay or whatever. Yeah.
Exactly. And the next announcement is Manus, my computer, last week. So Manus has been acquired by Meta, as we all know, in a very interesting business heist, moving money. The verdict is still up. Like, Chinese are not happy with the move, but it's with Meta now. And their first announcement with Meta is my computer. And yeah, Alex have it on screen. So
Yeah, so what it allows you to basically do is for it to function almost like your own virtual machine, like a separate computer that you have running in the background. So you can even have it running, like you can see here, create local folders. They have a whole video about what it does and how it interacts. But think of it as having your spare laptop that you have that you turn on once in a while for your personal stuff, and you can have some kind of AI layer on top of it and give it tasks to work with the files from that computer. Whether you have some, spreadsheets you gotta put together and analyze and put them into a presentation. A lot of, I would say, the functionality that Manus and ChatGPT and Claude have is very related, but the extent to which they're really good at it varies from one to another. Manus, I would say, is very good for general tasks, and they're getting much better at coding and even prototyping in that respect. ChatGPT, I would say, is probably the best all around kind of general purpose, but it's not the best at coding. It's not the best at writing. It's not the best at image generation. It's, pretty decent for what you need at that price point
like
of
the
$20.
casual, it's the casual everyday user type of
For
platform.
little tasks and so on. Yeah. Of course, Manus, what I like about Manus in particular is that as you're working with it, it gets to learn your way of working, and it's going to give you different suggestions like, hey, Amir, whenever you're writing this particular proposal, you tend to like always ask me to rewrite it in a more professional way at the end. Why don't we offer to remember this and do it professionally from the get-go right away? So that's a nice thing, that you get a lot of these prompts that it wants to know what you're doing. It wants to verify that whether you prefer to use external APIs or whether you prefer to use some other solutions. So it's getting quite good for that specific use case. I'd say it's also quite good for writing tasks. ChatGPT is probably my least favorite for writing. It's very obvious. It's got the long M dash. It's got, some phrases that you wouldn't really use. And oftentimes when you start with any of these tools, what everybody should do, doesn't matter what tool you're using, open the voice notes on your iPhone or open a voice recorder in your, on your phone. You can literally transcribe all of it at the end and copy paste it into ChatGPT and just talk to it to 10 minutes for 10 minutes straight. Say, hey, my name is Alex. This is my job. This is what I do. This is the scope of my work. I need an assistant to help me with XYZ tasks. This is how I usually do it. This is the reason. Just talk to it for 10 minutes straight and give this as the prompt that you're going to start to actually kick off your projects. Yeah.
And would you do that with GPT or with Manus or Perplexity? Which one?
With everything. With everything.
So
everything.
you need to teach it. You need to give it the context of
you need to teach it, of course. Yeah. Like if you're starting to date somebody for the first time, there's a million things they like and dislike, and same with you. But when you're spending more and more years, you get to really narrow in on your likes, dislikes, and whatnot. So same thing here. What I'll even do sometimes, I decide not to use one for a particular project I'm working on. I'll decide to export it somewhere else. Not only will I export all the files, I will actually ask that AI tool to generate me a thorough document explaining exactly how I talk to it, how I like it written, what is my style, what are the samples that I provide as a context. And I'll actually export this to Google Gemini, for example, and I'll say, hey, actually analyze the output of this task against another one. So maybe that's a layer further. If you need something very specific, you can actually pin them against one another and ask them to find flaws in their work. If I'm doing something more complex, like creating apps or some coding related tasks, I use Gemini and Claude quite a bit, and maybe I'll get ChatGPT for ID iteration, but then I'll kind of ask them to roast each other's ideas in that way. Yeah.
Talking about orchestration between models, Perplexity also had a very interesting announcement with Perplexity Computer. And tell us a little bit more here, Alex. So it orchestrates 19 models and sub-agents, and it does almost the same as Manus.
17 to 18, 19 employees in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then is Perplexity becoming the project manager?
I find I love Perplexity. I find it's been hard for them. Maybe I'm misinformed. I haven't seen their internal numbers, but they're doing a lot of great ideas and they're doing them early. What I'm afraid is they're doing them a little bit too early, where somebody like OpenAI is going to come in like Apple and swoop in and build the touchscreen phones 10 years after HP and after Nokia and after all of these other phone companies did it. So the first thing they did is they created a browser, which I actually downloaded and I was using it for some time instead of Google Chrome. It was working quite well, but there's a couple minor bugs. And now, of course, they have a Perplexity computer, which is very similar to what Manus is doing, that you can have up to 19 different agents doing different tasks in parallel for you, right? So I think they're at the point where they're all about a couple months away from each other and catching up. So it's very interesting to see who's going to take a lead on it. But yeah, it seems like Perplexity is becoming that trusted researcher that you can really rely on to get you the right information, to really use different models. And the nice thing is you're able to switch between these different models within it. So you're not bound by using only their own, but you have a choice.
And Claude also had some announcements. So now it started to have in-chat visuals and like charts and diagrams. It started to have like native Office across different platforms. Also, they announced the desktop, remote desktop. You can send a task to your desktop from your mobile. I guess Manus also had that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And for Claude, especially, yeah, it seems like they're really the leader in the breakthrough stuff, and they do it really well. Like Claude is very good for writing, and it's very good for software. Like those two things, it seems to be especially a leader in. You did mention some of the native kind of compatible plugins. The last one that we haven't covered yet, that we don't really put it in the conversation for those daily AI tools, which is the set of Google's products, Gemini. I would say Gemini AI is very good in terms of the data that it can tap into, right? So it's got access to all of basically YouTube, Google search results, and all of the other Google product suite. So long term, I think it will win. I think for a lot of tasks, it does a great job. I think they're lacking a little bit of how they design it, how you can organize the folders and organize your projects, but I think they won't take long to catch up. Now, Google is arguably the dominant force when it comes to image and video generation. So if anybody's heard the word nano banana, it sounds kind of like something from the Minions from Universal Studios, but it's their image generation model. And think of all of the, I don't know, hundreds of terabytes of data they have on YouTube that they can basically tap into for accuracy for training their models. And they're also doing the same with 4K video. I would say it's getting really good that you can have virtual influencers that are doing selfie videos that you can hardly tell apart from a real person. So for image generation specifically, Google is the king. But I think in terms of the other AI functionality, it's still playing a bit of a catch-up.
To be honest, like it feels for me that each one of them is still falling back on their initial competitive advantage. Like it felt for I kind of maybe as an old white hair man here in the call, I would actually say it feels for me that OpenAI is going somewhere into the general
purpose, 100%.
Earlier, like being there. We give you the Kickstarter, you can play here and do what needs to be done, get a flavor of the Gen AI. Manus feels for me that the hardcore geek that really can do it. And like they started with the agent on the computer and apparently they're still excelling in there. They feels for me in my head like Oracle of our time. And then like SQL and ERB and these type of things. Perplexity, it's the best research I have seen. Honestly, whenever I have tried it on anything else, it hangs. There's a lot of bugs.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
so
feel
that like the browser, I think they did a great concept, but it was, as the saying goes, one sandwich short of a picnic.
And it's like, I have created for you the photo. Please download. And I say, yeah, where is the photo? not there. Like, give me the photo. And then actually, no, but please click right click and download. Yeah, bro, I need to click right click and download, but there's no photo to put the photo. And so I feel Perplexity needs away a little bit away from the research. They are buggy. Claude feels for me is the one done with serious people, like reliable. I can rely that what is needs to be done, it will be done. And Google is the colorful still Google. So far, they are the only one with 35 million token actually in there. So that's really like big. That gives them big depth into the models and the data sources. But again, I have the feeling that I can use it into research, into context. Photo creation, Nano Banana is like far somewhere else than anyone else. But I still don't get it hallucinates a lot. Like that's I think the word that I would say. It hallucinates a lot. I need to like, how did you get this information? Like I didn't ask you about that. Let's focus and do this. So
Well,
what is
on this note, I've kind of not a plug really, but I'm working with a couple of companies that are tackling this problem, and they're not just working on AI in the LLM traditional sense, but really having a reasoning engine on top of it as one of the other layers, and being able to show you logic, how it arrived to that answer, what models are used, how they're weighted. So I think that's interesting that it seems like AI is going to become a commodity, but it's people that control the data. And there's a lot of other modes behind it that are really going to be the difference maker. I still vote for Google as being the ultimate winner because I think the amount of data they've trained their models on with all of the, even Google Analytics, you can start connecting like different other Google products to it. So I can't wait for the day that I can plug in my Firebase, my Google Analytics, my YouTube stats, everything in one place and just manage it from there. I think they're going to end up taking it all. But yeah, I agree with you. I think the initial differentiator that they started with is kind of the lead use case they're good at, I guess. Yeah.
So just to like move into the next two topics quickly, and I know we can talk a lot about the tools, and I think maybe we should keep that because I'm also looking forward to hear your view next time about GenSpark and Kling and the DeepSeek and DeepL and all of those, like whatever deeps
yes.
we're having there, and then get your head around it as well. And I'm sure by the time we're catching up again, there will be more updates. But do you want to jump into energy? Let's see what is happening there.
Yeah, so we know, I think it's common knowledge that AI is very energy demanding, right? We're building these massive gigafactories to just be able to power these things. And I think there's predictions that in the near future, the energy consumption of AI is going to overtake the total energy consumption of the humans on the planet, right? So that's interesting to keep an eye on. But point being, these things are hungry. It takes a lot to power them up. And as we know with the Middle East situations, things are getting hot for, I guess, a couple of reasons. Part of it is the Middle Eastern, the Saudis, the Qataris, they've committed hundreds of billions of dollars to NVIDIA, to OpenAI, to buying stakes in these companies, right? To building these data centers and factories in the States as an investment. Whereas nowadays with this whole war situation, some of those commitments could be at risk potentially. And the second thing I think, Amir, which is closer to what you want to talk about, is that Iran is choosing, of course, to retaliate on the neighboring countries in the Middle East, especially those that have, let's say, U.S. bases, which, one could see potentially the argument, but they're not just targeting the bases and the tanks and the missiles. They're targeting actually the energy grid and then some of those data centers powering AWS and other, big players. Is that an accurate description, or is there anything else that's important to mention?
Okay, I really promised myself that I want to talk on I don't want to mention any politics, but I cannot hold it. I think both the Americans and the Iranians and Israelis, of course, like they are taking the GCC hostage. And it's like, okay, they're not able to punch each other. Like Americans has the mandate to protect the GCC with the American bases and whatever is there. Trump came with a promise of peace, and definitely he's failing everyone here for a completely irrational war. Iranians are doing what they do best. They're taking everyone else hostage and creating collateral damage on the war. Israelis are also like doing what they also do, like they only think about their own lens, and then they
Interesting.
to
Yeah.
the hell everyone else, and then start crying when actually people don't like us. Really? Why? God knows. So
And again, just to emphasize, everything we're talking about is not to individual people, or it's to the governments mostly that are responsible for this, right? You don't need to be anti-American to not agree with the current, people in power. You don't need to be anti-Muslim, whatever, to be against what that particular government is doing at that particular time. So I don't think we need to say that, but I'm just going to add my 2 cents.
yeah, like I have friends from all over the world, and we talk every day, and I don't need to say that to my Iranian friends, my Israeli friends, my American friends, my Emirati, my Qatari families and friends, and I lived in most of these countries. And as a conversation and topic, we kind of all, by the way, most of 60-70% in the middle disagree. This is not like reaching to the point where you need to start punching each other in the face. That's definitely where someone has to stop here. But however, what happened in this specific conflict is few things that we started seeing that were not existing before. Like what was remarkable for me is attacking the energy and then attacking the ICT infrastructure, the Amazon data centers, specifically the Amazon zones as well, in Bahrain and UAE. So it is definitely a new thing. First, congratulations, ICT infrastructure. You reached the top, you became a target. And now you really need to take care of yourself. So now ICT is ranked next to energy, water, and other infrastructure by war point. What was very interesting for me is that the sequence of news that led to AWS data center being hit, whether it is true or not, that's not the point, but the sequence of news. Claude has been used, and we'll talk about it a little bit in a few minutes. Claude has been used with context with a couple of other tools to define targets and attack the targets. Claude is hosted together with Palantir on AWS infrastructure. It was being leaked or told, or whether it's right or wrong, I really don't know, is that the American ICT infrastructure that is defending as the core of the war applications being used is hosted on Amazon. So the Amazon infrastructure has been attacked. And here's one thing that didn't happen in the previous infrastructure. Before, when you attack an electricity station, for civilians, you're attacking a civilian electricity station. You know that you're attacking that, and that's like something that should not happen. And when you're attacking a military infrastructure, most likely military infrastructure has its own
power source and so on,
and stuff. Now, something food for thought we need to think about. Maybe platforms that are used in military should not be hosted in civilian commercial infrastructure. Or let me know before I put my banking application in AWS that I know that, please, next time I need to know that you are not putting me next to another platform that actually increases my risk vulnerability in simple risk calculations. So one thing as well I noticed from that when we were talking about it is that when the zones in Bahrain and Dubai were supposed to be redundant to each other, they are both being exposed to the same war, and that impacted also commercial applications. That's one thing I noticed. The second thing is the energy crunch. Energy is hiking, and then immediately US, they were ready for the situation. They asked the suppliers to ring fence their energy sources. Don't use the power from the grid. Start doing your own. Don't touch the grid of people. And let's do that. Big move from my point of view. It's 500 terawatt per year now that the centers are using. Like it is a lot. It's almost like, I don't know, if 10% energy price increase according to Goldman Sachs, it will be 1% reduction on the compute efficiency on the AI. So there is a definitely dynamic happening here.
And you said it's 500 terawatt, is that right?
500 terawatt, yes, per
Okay,
year.
okay.
No, it's a lot. It can power countries.
Yeah, so 1 gigawatt power is roughly 800 to a million people,
Yeah.
like mid-sized cities like Austin or San Francisco. So that could be 400 to 500 billion people in terms of energy consumption.
Yeah, and it is a lot. It is definitely a lot, and it will grow. No way there. And then link it to the earlier conversation about the tokens and the token cost and the amount of consumption. So first, definitely not sustainable. Second, yeah, very sensitive to energy. And now I hope one day we don't reach the point that we need. It should be a no-brainer. Humans get the energy before machines, but maybe I should say it.
Yeah.
Humans get the energy before machines, guys. Like, that's not really how it works. Like, we don't want to go into that conversation. And then, like, the third thing that was very interesting when we talk about this war was the question of how the AI was used in targeting massively in the first. I think it's the first time that we really hear about it. And despite all the drama that actually happened a couple of weeks before between Claude and the Department of War and OpenAI.
OpenAI stepping in to take the contract over, yeah.
Correct, yeah.
And, can I give a quick 30-second review there? So Anthropic, the company behind Claude, had a partnership with the Department of War in the States to use the capabilities for various purposes. They had a couple hard conditions. One is that it will not be used for surveillance purposes on Americans, and the second big one, that it wouldn't be used for targeting people, basically to kill people with AI targeting without a human approval. And my understanding, there's a bunch of other stuff, but the Department of War couldn't commit to that, and OpenAI stepped in as they ended the contract with Anthropic, and next thing you know, they took over the contract, claiming that they're working on those things, but probably nothing has changed, right? Whereas now we find out that in some of these attacks, whether it's throughout between Israel and Gaza, I'm sure it's also, some of the targeting in probably Lebanon and Iran, other areas, Claude turns out was used for some of that. And if I'm not mistaken, they may have been used unknowingly in that attack that fell on the school, isn't it, Amir? Correct me there if I'm wrong.
It does. And I really need to differentiate between a couple of things there. Whether it was used in a warfare or not, that applies on everything. And I don't know, where do you draw the line, right? Microsoft email, Outlook, Microsoft Excel, PowerPoint. We are running over IT systems for the last 40 years. The phone, like where do you draw the line? If a commander uses an Apple phone and call someone to attack, or if it's a Motorola communication system, the difference of the dilemma here is at every point of time till this point of time, the decision was given to the human to decide. And at that point, and now
human in the loop.
Yes, the human is in the loop, or actually the human is in the riding wheel. It's riding the decision. So I'm using the data on the Excel and deciding what to do there, and then pressing the button knowingly what I'm doing. And I think this is where we're talking about the difference here, that when we're talking about AI tools or AI companies, we are not really talking about a technology company being used in a warfare. We're talking about a technology company that actually starting to take a decision on our behalf. And that's
so
where
instead of using the AI, let's say hypothetical situation, we use satellite scans to look for certain faces. The AI finds these faces, but at the end of the day, Barack Obama still needs to say whether they pull the trigger and drop the bombs or not, right? Whereas nowadays, that decision is being left 100% to the AI, that it finds the people, finds the targeting, makes the decision, arguably without supervision, without some extra step where you have to press a button physically. And, so the question there becomes, where does the responsibility play? And Amir, me and you chatted a little bit before that. So can you give us some insight there?
So the point is that maybe I'll give I'll give the audience a quick names, because I think I don't want to bore them with a lot of technical details. There is a system called Maven Smart System. So this is the really first AI tool that has been. It's Pentagon, like as we all know, like Pentagon does things before everyone else. It's the same for internet. So Maven was 2017 project actually, and was meant to integrate the AI. Not the AI at this time, to be the AI system or the AI layer, integrating the GEO data, the satellite data, put it into machine learning, give it to the US Army, and help it to crunch the data as fast as possible. And the project was clearly given to the Congress under human in the loop. That's not AI. Then a project later was handed to Google, and then there was that big uprising in the Google organization, I think between 2019, 2021, when actually Google had to pull back from the project and said the famous quote, "We do no harm." And that's our thing. And then Google took get out of the project completely. Then later the project sat into the hands of Palantir. And then also later into the hands of both Palantir and Odril, the two famous tech founders that we talked
Tech
about
bros
earlier
from the PayPal mafia, yes, or
here.
well,
Yeah,
not really PayPal, but yeah, we've talked about Palmer Luckey on the show before. Yeah, so where is this going, Amir? I mean, is this avoidable? Do we have to have some kind of force rule that we have humans in the loop, or how do we deal with this in an ethical way?
I really think this should be really like enforce it to have a human in the loop type of conversation. The initial story saying that the attacking of the school was a glitch in the platform, and yeah, that's it. Like a glitch, we killed 180 girls. Like who? What on earth is this? Like that's definitely not acceptable. And also, like while we're talking there as well, and I hope I'm wrong, and I really hope this is not what happened in reality. The Hapsura platform for the Israeli IDF, together in alignment with MSS, together with alignment with Claude, this was the 3 orchestrating layer. And most of the news saying that Hapsura has been trained in the Gaza attacks to actually become ready to enter the war in Iran. This is horrible. This is horrible. I hope it's not true. Like this is far beyond. This is really the nuclear bomb. This is where we're gonna start later having Nobel Prize. We call it Hapsura Prize or Maven Prize because we created the bomb that killed humans. There is a wake-up call needed. The whole world now is on the verge of collapse, and we have to. This is not a joke anymore. People need to stop and create this new world order, including the AI in the loop now, and decide. And before we close, I would like to just quickly mention few of the big names existing and running the show in the AI now, and their public positioning on this. And I'll leave it to our audience to decide whether people are standing by their public opinions or we are really going into a rabbit hole. So Palmer Luckey, he's definitely pro autonomy war, and he has a very interesting say that when it's inferior, there is no moral grounds. Palantir and Peter Thiel, they're having very interesting say from Peter Thiel that if it's going to happen anyway, and I would rather make it ethical and be part of the controlling the narrative when it comes there. So he's definitely having few quotations, Peter Thiel, around ethical AI warfare. Sundar Pichai of Google.
Sundar Pichai, yeah.
And we do no harm. That's the public statement. They stood by it in 2018 when they withdrew from Maven. Dario Amodei and the anti-lethal use of Anthropic. big fuzz with Department of War earlier and for use. Funny, when I re-looked at the statement, actually, the objection of Anthropic in the statement of objection was objecting to the internal use of autonomous warfare against Americans, but it's not objecting against external use. It is only talking about the democratic system of the US. Sam Altman actually regretted the signature. He said it was a big unplanned mistake that he had done.
Please stop it.
So
I don't know how much I want to believe Sam Altman. I mean, he'll say and seems like do anything to get his way. So I don't know how much credibility to give it there. But I mean, if we were to wrap up, what's your kind of outlook on this going forward? Let's hope that we have a quick resolution to the whole conflict. Let's hope we use this peacetime to actually reassess what's happening. Where do we cross red lines? What switch keys we put in place to make sure there's a human in the loop. But what else would you suggest? What's your approach here?
I hope for peace when it comes to this war. I really hope for peace for everyone. This is where actually we need to stop, and we have it wasn't far. Iraq war or Afghanistan war. Power doesn't do anything with this. It doesn't close any conflict. We need to, war will not actually end anything. The Iranian regime will not go down by this war, and the Israel will not be safe by this war if that's the ultimate game, and actually the US will not be the supreme power of the world by this war. None of that will happen, if not the opposite, by the way. So I really hope that stops. And when it comes to the use of tech in warfare, that's the nature of all of it. It has to be used. And we will have to continue using it. And this needs to be done. And this is the first time we see it in action. We should not let it be autonomous. That should be a governing body, the same like we're talking about nuclear weapon. That needs
there has to be a human being that pressed the button at the end to put its signature that we can go and ask, why did you make this final call?
And a well-informed human being.
Yeah.
Not just a human being. It's not T's and C's and let's press. It's a well-informed human being responsible for his action. And if not, maybe then the CEOs of those companies will be the ones responsible for those actions. Choose. But some human has to be responsible here. And we need to tackle this one. And the last one, 60,000 people killed in Gaza. And if it is by using autonomous AI, that's a catastrophe on humanity. And 180 girls in Iran was being killed in a school. If it is blamed on us trialing
AI targeting,
those are lives. We need to be cautious for that.
Well, let's keep speaking up for what we believe is right, as much as we can do here. And we'll keep talking about AI, the positive, the pros, how to use it to our advantage, but also how to prevent the Terminator Part 3.
Till next time, Alex. Looking forward for the next one.
See you in the next episode. Have a successful rest of the week.
Cheers, man.
Take care. Bye.